A bill in the Kentucky House would repeal workers' rights to a lunch break, a break every 4 hours, time and a half on the 7th day of work, and decrease the statute of limitations for labor violations. We're going to get right into last week in Southern labor. So here's what workers in the U.S. South and the American colonies were up to from February 24th to March the 1st. In new campaigns, 20 workers at Crescent Paper Tube in Lewisport, Kentucky filed a petition to hold a union election with the United Steelworkers, USW. 5 workers at Cesar Chavez Foundation in Dallas, Texas filed a petition to hold a union election with Lone Star Labor Education, as did 2 more workers for the same organization in Austin. The employer filed a petition to hold a union election after a majority of the 30 workers at SP Plus Corporation, which operates shuttles, valets, etc., in Sarasota, Florida, demonstrated support for unionization with the Teamsters, Local 79. 12 workers at EquipmentShare.com in Cape Girardeau, Missouri, filed a petition to hold a union election with the International Union of Operating Engineers, IUOE, Local 513. 60 workers at Red River Science and Technology in Fort Knox, Kentucky, filed a petition to hold a union election with the Transport Workers Union, TWU. The employer filed a petition to hold a union election after a majority of the 13 workers at Atlanta Symphony Orchestra in Atlanta, Georgia, demonstrated support for unionization with the International Alliance of Theatrical and Stage Employees, IATSE, Local 927. 9 workers at Anthony's Food in Meeker, Oklahoma, filed a petition to hold a union election with the United Food and Commercial Workers, UFCW Local 1000. 33 workers at Riverside Theater in Vero Beach, Florida, filed a petition to hold a union election with IATSE Local 500. 28 workers at Houston Landing in San Antonio, Texas, filed a petition to hold a union election with the Media Guild of the West, News Guild, CWA, Local 39-13. Workers likely pushed by their employer filed a petition to decertify UFCW Local 1996 as the union representing the 156 workers at Kraft Heinz/Maxwell House in Jacksonville, Florida. And 25 workers at Southeastern Paper Group in College Park, Georgia, filed a petition to hold a union election with the Teamsters, Local 528. In campaign updates, all UAW this week, workers at Mercedes-Benz in Vance, Alabama, announced that a majority now support the union effort. A day prior to this announcement, the CEO of Mercedes-Benz gave an anti-union speech at a mandatory captive audience meeting, telling workers, quote, "I don't believe the UAW can help us to be better." A day after the announcement, Kay Ivey publicly blasted the Alabama workers as a, quote, "looming threat to the state's economy." Nick Saban met with workers at Mercedes-Benz last week in what some anticipated to be his participation in the anti-union campaign. Workers, however, say that he did not attack the union, and the talk was just generic, so pro-union Alabama fans can rest easy. In election results, there were 5 petitions for union elections that were withdrawn last week. First was 17 workers at Parker Transport in Clinton, Tennessee with the Teamsters, 3 workers at Marty Kinsella Collision Center in Florissant, Missouri with the International Association of Machinists and Aerospace Workers, IAMAW District Lodge 8, 95 workers at Tensar Corporation in Morrow, Georgia with the Retail, Wholesale, and Department Store Union, RWDSU Southeast Council, and 42 workers at Collins Landing Systems in Haltom City, Texas with the United Auto Workers. A petition to decertify the Washington-Baltimore News Guild, CWA Local 32035, as the union representing 17 workers at the Daily Progress in Charlottesville, Virginia, was withdrawn. And a unit clarification position for the currently 500-person unit at Big State Electric in San Antonio, Texas by the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, IBEW, Local 60, was withdrawn. 2 workers, shuttle drivers, at Vestas Services in Stafford, Texas, voted unanimously in favor of unionization with the Teamsters, Local 988. 8 workers at Heinz GS Properties in Washington, D.C. voted 5-3 in favor of unionization with IUOE, Local 99. 174 workers at U.S. Sugar Savannah Refinery in Port Wentworth, Georgia, voted 41 to 112 against unionization with the Teamsters Local 528. In a decertification election, 4 workers at Gray's Auto Service in Richmond Heights, Missouri, voted unanimously in favor of decertifying the Automotive, Petroleum, and Allied Industries Employees Local 618, a Teamsters affiliate. 40 workers at OXDIA LLC in Kansas City, Missouri, voted 6 to 24 against unionization with the Teamsters Local 955. 6 workers at Leidos in North Merritt Island, Florida, voted 3 to 3 in an election on joining the IBEW Local 2088, and ties go to the employers. So the union election was unsuccessful. 50 workers at Roll Call in Washington, D.C. voted 41 to 3 in favor of unionization with the Washington-Baltimore News Guild. 85 workers at Southern Electric Corporation of Mississippi in Miami, Florida, yeah, that's you you heard that right, voted against unionization with the IBEW Local 222.
Hey, 5 seconds, just wanted to say that this is only possible because of our donors. If you want to see more of this, then consider donating yourself at tblr.fm/donate.
4 workers at Lee County Electric Cooperative in North Fort Myers, Florida, voted 3 to 1 in favor of unionization with IBEW Local 1933. Editorial and gaming workers at Imagine Gaming Network, IGN, won voluntary recognition for their unionization with the News Guild CWA and celebrated their win with a Twitch stream. Members of ATU Local 689 are still on strike after Transdev refused to bargain fairly, coming to the table with a proposal to cut benefits. In other strikes and bargaining updates, the Orlando Sentinel Guild wrote a long Twitter thread detailing why some of their members have left the paper even though their dream was to work in journalism. All the reasons revolved around low pay, disrespect, and poor benefits. The Teamsters and Anheuser-Busch came to a tentative agreement of averting a near strike, with the workers securing an average 23% raise over the term of the contract, with half of that, a $4 an hour raise, coming in the first year. They also secured a $2,500 ratification bonus, increased pension contributions and benefits, more leave, job security, and an end to 2-tier health care. The 5,000 members are voting on ratification on March 3rd to 5th. Teamsters Local 688 at Gray Bar in St. Louis, Missouri went on strike last week after they were not able to come to an agreement on pay, health care, and profit sharing. The Communication Workers of America reached a tentative agreement with AT&T Mobility in their contract negotiations, covering 5,000 CWA members spanning Arkansas, Kansas, Missouri, Oklahoma, and Texas. The TA includes an immediate 5% raise and more. Members will vote on ratification next week. United Campus Workers of Mississippi, Local 3565, members at University of Mississippi, University of Southern Mississippi, and Mississippi State University came together for the Living Wage Week of Action to highlight the urgent need for pay increases for campus workers in the state. 7,000 UAW members who build Freightliner and Western Star trucks and Thomas-built buses for Daimler Truck North America are gearing up for a historic contract fight. The current contract expires at 12:01 a.m. on Friday, April 26, and workers at 6 facilities in North Carolina, Georgia, and Tennessee. They are seeking solutions to lower pay and deteriorating benefits. Starbucks Workers United and Starbucks announced an agreement last week to begin discussions on a foundational framework to achieve collective bargaining agreements, resolve litigation, and a fair process for workers to organize. As a show of good faith, union workers will get the new benefits that non-union workers have received since the organizing campaign began about 3 years ago, along with back pay. An analysis from the Strategic Organizing Center estimates that Starbucks spent almost $250 million on union-busting activities. Kroger workers in West Virginia, Ohio, and Kentucky, and members of UFCW Local 400, voted to authorize a strike by 85% after voting to reject the company's proposal by 87%. With the contract already expired, the bargaining committee can now call on the approximately 3,000 workers across the 3 states to strike at any moment. South Florida janitors with the Service Employees International Union, SEIU Local 32BJ, reached a tentative agreement with the contractors that clean major buildings. The TA includes 27 to 28% raises over 4 years, more full-time employment, and more. The ratification vote is taking place on March the 2nd. The Orange County, Florida School Board is holding an impasse hearing over their desire to increase the health insurance rates for the teachers union. The union is saying that the scheduled time of 9:30 a.m. is to decrease attendance from their members and supportive working people in the community. In politics and legislation, the Teamsters are holding a roundtable with President Joe Biden on March the 12th. The FTC is suing to block a merger of Kroger and Albertsons, a move supported broadly by labor due to concerns that a merger would deteriorate working conditions. So-called school choice is progressing in the Alabama legislature, and President Randy Weingarten of the American Federation of Teachers is expressing concern. State Senator Marika Coleman filed a bill in the legislature that would amend the Alabama Jobs Act to revoke tax incentives for companies that violate child labor law. The Florida Senate passed a bill that would ban lab-grown meat and stop municipalities from doing anything to encourage installation of electric vehicle charging stations. The Mississippi House passed Medicaid expansion 92-20, which is more than enough to overcome a veto. It now heads to the Senate. The Alabama House passed a bill to give immunity to IVF providers, 94-6, but some Democrats are sounding the alarm that this will likely require a constitutional amendment. Since Alabama law now defines a fertilized egg as a human being with full personhood, this bill essentially grants immunity to murderers as defined by the law. So you could see a judge striking the law down as unconstitutional pretty easily. The mayor of Montgomery signed an executive order for giving $10 million in old municipal debt. A writer in one of the versions of Tennessee's school choice scams would mandate the public school system to renovate charter school locations in some cases, even when the charter school owns the building, without ownership reverting to the school system in the case that the charter school goes under. A bill in the Kentucky House would repeal workers' rights to a lunch break, to a break every 4 hours, to time and a half on the 7th day of work, to payment for traveling between jobs, and it also decreases the limitations, the statute of limitations for labor violations from 5 to 3 years. The West Virginia AFL-CIO is opposing a bill that would take away unemployment benefits from workers who are laid off due to no fault of their own. A Catholic priest testified in opposition to a Florida bill that would bar municipalities from passing heat protection ordinances for workers. Candidates for Alabama's newly redrawn Congressional District 2 debated last week, and neither the candidates nor the moderators mentioned unions or the UAW's campaign at Hyundai in the district that they are vying to represent. In internal union affairs, CWA's Human Rights Department is launching a radio program on KYOK in Houston, Texas to talk about solidarity and worker power, Thursdays from 10 to 11 Eastern. Dozens of leaders in the firefighters union in Alabama met to strategize about strengthening their local unions and establishing collective bargaining agreements. And AFGE hit a major milestone in their nationwide internal organizing campaign, hitting 300,000 members. You just saw a clip from the Valley Labor Report. We are live every Saturday morning from 9:30 a.m. till 12:30 p.m. And we pride ourselves on keeping all of our content free to everybody so that we can talk to as many working folks as possible. If you support the work that we're doing, you think that it's important, you think that it's good, then consider making a monthly contribution to the project, and you can do that on our website, tvlr.fm.